Thank you for joining me. Welcome, welcome. I've had a lot of people tagging me about Charlie getting heat from RWBY Twitter. Some people from the RWBY community are not happy with Charlie. So thank you all for the tags. Always much appreciated. I guess at some point during the stream, Charlie pulled up a RWBY clip and talked about RWBY. I'll just play the clip for you, and then we'll see what Twitter's reaction is. But you already know, like I said, they're not happy about this. Let's take a look at what Charlie has to say.
Crunchyroll, or maybe it's already on Crunchyroll or has been. This show looks awful. Like, the only reason I tuned into it again recently is because of all the homophobic RWBY memes. Had me giggling a bit, so I wanted to check it out to see, like, okay, what is this show about? I don't get it. It actually feels like it is written by a 9-year-old. And the animation is so bad. It's so bad. No, I know Monty created it. I remember when it first came out. And it was cool. Like, Monty's work was always extraordinary. But whatever's become of the show is awful. X-Arm looking... Unironically, actual X-Arm animation here, if you haven't seen it.
I know you may not care about protecting this village. But you could
oh, and this is also the homophobic RWBY memes. She has a little attitude about being the leader.
Are you okay?
No, what time is it? No! No!
Oh, Sean.
I couldn't save them. I was supposed to save them, and they're dead.
So what happened there? So apparently everyone there just died. But why? What happened, and what were they? Like, tiny little creatures? Like Smurfs or something in there? Like, what is it? What happened? Someone explain it to me. They wanted to kill themselves to reincarnate, but Jean didn't let them. What? So this is a town of people that wanted to commit suicide, so they blasted holes into the side of a dam to flood it to kill themselves? Is that real? Or are you just making...
Yeah, so I personally... If anyone's looking at me by any chance to explain that, you're looking at the wrong dude. I don't have any idea what's going on. I haven't been watching any of Volume 9 at all. It's still, like, hilarious hearing Charlie confused about that, though. Like, to be fair, obviously we're missing context. I presume Charlie hasn't been watching Volume 9 either. Probably most people watching this video haven't. So, of course, we're going to be a bit confused by that scene, obviously. But still, like... Even the explanation, it's like, yo, what's going on, man? What's going on with this show? To my understanding, there's not supposed to be many volumes left, and they're off doing whatever the heck they're doing in some, like, ever after. It's like some alternate dimension or something. I mean, I'm not completely against the idea. It seems like it might potentially be interesting, but like I said, when there's supposed to not be many volumes left, I don't know if this is the best use of time and resources. There's a lot more I could say about what Charlie said, but I think it's probably best to go to Twitter and see what they have to say about it, and then I'll comment on it some more because it'll probably tie in with the rest of what I have to say. Before we do, though, I'll say one more thing. I do fully agree with Charlie on the animation, and actually, I prefer, like, literally Volume 1 animation over current animation. Like, current animation just looks weird to me. I don't know, man. I like the old school Volume 1 stuff, even though it had plenty of, like, issues with it. Yeah, even still, I would take Volume 1 animation over current animation. Although, I will say, I remember I liked the Volume 7 finale animation. I thought that was pretty good. I don't remember Volume 8 so much, though. I guess I was kind of just whatever on it. But yeah, the volume, from what I've seen of Volume 9 animation, I don't know, it just feels kind of weird. It feels almost like a kid's show, which actually ties in with something Charlie said, too, that I was going to bring up later. Spoiler alert. Okay, you know what? I'll be quiet. Let's go to Twitter, like I said. In a tweet with over 2,000 likes and over 500,000 views. Tags Charlie himself. Uh-oh. Hey, Charlie, I really like your content, but this is extremely out of pocket. Monty had Volume 9 planned out from the start and had his closest friends write this whole story with him. And some of the things you've said here directly messes on him and other people, trashes on him. Something that has always annoyed me is that RWBY is just the May Griffin of internet shows. Hey, you said it, not me. People that like it are called horrendous things. Dude, you know so very little about what goes into 3D animation. You've taken one singular clip from a show that's 9 seasons in, and taken it out of context just to trash on it, and that goes against literally everything Neath Oum stood for. You say you don't get it, and that's fine. You're entitled to that opinion, but please leave RWBY be. Just say it's not your thing and move on. I'm so tired of people just blatantly taking shots at this one show. Please, dude, his own brother went off about this. RWBY not being your thing is fine, but insulting the people that made it is still insulting him. Alright, let's break this down before we return to the Neath Oum, the brother thing. So, first off, Monty had Volume 9 planned out from the start. To my understanding, that might be true. I think there was hints that Monty had around 10 to 12 volumes planned out. The thing is, there's a big difference between saying there might be 10 to 12 volumes and what those volumes actually entail. Just because that might be the case doesn't mean that the actual material of those volumes is exactly as Monty wanted it. As a matter of fact, I think it's a safe bet to say that that's not an accurate take. That RWBY as it is now is not exactly as Monty would want it to be. And that's not trying to insult anyone. That's just facts. Like, Monty is gone and he didn't leave them with the exact science of how he wants RWBY broken down. To my understanding, based off stuff I researched years ago when I was still more about RWBY, Monty left Miles and Carrie and Kruby and all them with like a pretty rough outline of what he wanted and some general thoughts about like the future of the show, but it's not like he had everything written in great detail. There's an Inverse article from all the way back on May 29th, 2018 that kind of backs up what I said, where they write, uh-oh, there's a gray haddock here. That didn't age well. RT had to remain absolutely dedicated to keep the show going. This included pulling together memories and documentation and all available reference material to make sure the vision of the show would be maintained as closely as possible with what Monty had in mind. So yeah, it was more so like they were trying to piece together what Monty wanted, and that was back in 2018. Like, it's been years since then, and it's pretty clear that the direction RT's gone is like a pretty corporate route, so it's probably even less similar to what they were originally going for back in 2018 even, if I had to take a guess. I think it's a pretty fair assessment. I think there's also like other interviews and other articles that would further back this up, but I don't have too much time right now. I actually got to head out the door in about like 30-40 minutes. So let's continue. This whole take about people not being allowed to criticize RWBY because it goes against what Monty wanted, also a really weird thing to say. I personally have a lot of respect for Monty. I think he's a cool dude, and I can't imagine that he would ever say like, no one's allowed to criticize RWBY. Like, I just don't see Monty being that type of dude, so I highly doubt that. Continuing. You say you don't get it, and that's fine. You're entitled to that opinion, but please leave RWBY be. Just say your thing and move on. Just say it's not your thing and move on. Excuse me. Yeah, dude, it's like a 1 minute and 30-second clip he said. Like, his stream probably went on for X amount of hours, and that's like a 1.5 minute clip. Come on now, it's not that big of a deal. So now we have this whole Neath Oum thing. Well, I think some of you guys probably already know this, but Neath Oum years ago tried and failed spectacularly to cancel me. Like, he actually tried to cancel me, unironically, made a whole Twitter thread about it. Basically, he just didn't like that I was criticizing Rooster Teeth. He didn't like that I was talking about their poor business decisions. He especially didn't like when I talked about how they had a vice president that that got charged with domestically abusing his wife and potentially also the kid. I personally think a man who hurts women and children is some of the worst people out there, and Neath Oum was mad at me for talking about that stuff. Blows my freaking mind. He was more mad at me for talking about the news than he was mad at that scum and the terrible things he did to his own family. And so I made a whole video addressing what Neath Oum said. This was all like 3 years ago. It's all history. Point is, while I respect Monty and I like Monty, I gotta say, after how inappropriately Neath handled all that and how just embarrassing it was on his end and like just absolutely pathetic behavior, my opinion on Neath is, to put it nicely, it's not very high. Anyways, so back to this Twitter thread thing, and this person, they cite Neath Oum here, where he said, okay, tired of this, finally logged back in only to somehow see a tweet of someone using my brother's name to attack people who he cared about, considered his friends, and created RWBY side by side with him. If you didn't know my brother, work with him on RWBY or his other projects, etc., you have zero clue as to what he would have wanted and absolutely no right to use his name against his friends and family. None. Okay, I do think like his name shouldn't be used against his friends and family. The thing is, simply criticizing RWBY and or criticizing the direction of RWBY and or Kruby and their business decisions, that's not using Monty's name against his friends and family. Like, Charlie saying that he liked when Monty was around and when Monty worked on RWBY, and he liked that more than current RWBY, he's absolutely allowed to say that. People can say stuff like that. It's ridiculous that people get so defensive over the show that they really think that line of that sort of response is appropriate. At that point, they're the ones really using Monty's name inappropriately, in my opinion. Basically saying, hey, you can't criticize Kruby, you can't criticize Rooster Teeth, you can't criticize these corpos because they were allegedly friends with Monty. Pretty absurd thing to say. And I say allegedly because I don't know how well they treated him. I could tell you this much. Years ago, I talked about a situation where Monty gave some gifts to a friend of his. I think it was one friend. And you know what that friend did with that gift from Monty? A sentimental gift from Monty, who passed away, rest in peace, as we all know. Dude sold it at a garage sale. That's just one example of what one of his alleged friends did. I don't think that person was an RT employee either, to my recollection, or affiliated with RT, but you can see my point. Furthermore, I'll elaborate on the point. As you guys know already, I've criticized RT as a business for years. And a number of months ago, RT had so much bad news come out about them that even like mainstream news outlets were writing about how bad RT is as a company as well. In other words, pretty much everything I was saying for years, which was all accurate and true, only aged that much better because all this other stuff eventually came out about RT. And so the point here is, given how many toxic, just bad people worked at RT and or still do, yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if Monty had a number of alleged friends who really were only using him. It's a sad thing, dude, but it's probably an unfortunate reality, at least on some level. All right, let's check out some of the responses to that tweet thread that we've been going over. Aaron Wynn, who I believe is part of RWBY, says, "No, I love Charlie. I don't know if I want to watch this." People take this stuff so personal. Like, come on now. You can like him, and he's allowed to criticize RWBY, right? Like, this don't got to be the worst thing ever, right? I know Moist doesn't have the knowledge or experience watching the show, but he is right about the show not doing well. It just isn't. He didn't know about the context behind the scenes he viewed, which is fair enough, but don't take it too personally like this. Yeah, that's what I'm saying ultimately. Like, I think people are taking this way too personally, especially for like a 1 minute, 30-second clip. Response from the OP. What do you mean the show isn't doing well? 9 seasons, 4 video games. Okay, so I think this person's mistaken. I believe it's actually 5 video games. Let's run through that really quick. So there was Amity Arena, which we talked about recently, was shut down. That was a mobile game. There was Grim Eclipse, which, yeah, enough said about that. I guess maybe not. If you don't know Grim Eclipse, here's what I'll say. Extremely fun game to play for the first 15 minutes. Then it's like, oh, this is actually really boring and repetitive. I think they're probably talking about Blaze Blue being a part of that as well, like the RWBY stuff in Blaze Blue. And what would be the 4th one? Oh, yeah. So there was also a RWBY Arrowverse thing. I think that's like on Steam or something. So that'd be 4. There's a 5th one. That's what I'm saying. There's a 5th one. A lot of people don't know about this, including the OP apparently. RWBY actually had a card game. It was like a RWBY card game, a digital card game, not like a real TCG. It was like not to say digital is not real. You know what I mean though? Physical is what I meant to say, not real. So there was also that. So there's 5 video games total. And like pretty much all of them failed except Blaze Blue. Blaze Blue, is a standalone IP though. Maybe they're not factoring that one in, but I have a hunch they are, and they're just not aware of the RWBY card thing because like a lot of people weren't. Actually, I think the official name was like RWBY Deck Building, something like that. You can look into it more if you want. Continuing, 4 separate figure lines outside of RT merch, 2 DC movies. Yeah, but that's just like the Warner connection. Same thing with 3 DC comic runs. That's just like Warner desperately trying to keep RWBY relevant and introduce them to like a new audience. Heavy reference in The Matrix and Doctor Sleep. I don't know about the Matrix one. Is that true? I do remember the Doctor Sleep one. That was kind of cool. RWBY is no means a failure. Yeah, well, depends how you define success and failure, I suppose. I'll be that guy and say I don't really care for his content. He doesn't seem like a bad dude at all, but he gives me big. I'm being a jerk, but I'm also being genuine. He wasn't even really being a jerk though. Like, come on now. I get other people like his stuff and that's fine, but I find him incredibly grating. What did he even say that was so bad though? I don't know. But here we go. Look at this from Jamie. But these are genuine criticisms though. All he said was that he doesn't understand the show and that the animation was bad. He didn't attack Monty or the crew, and saying that the writing for a show is bad isn't attacking the writer. I'm saying this as an ex-RWBY fan. Come on. Yeah, the ex-RWBY fans tend to be the more reasonable ones, but this is a pretty based response from Jamie. He did attack the crew, bro. Oh my gosh. More of the responses here. People are still mad about that H-Bomber guy video from 2 years ago. Yo, 5.3 million views about RWBY being disappointing. They'll never get over that one. Talks about the animation being good or something, I guess. And they actually linked to a response Charlie made to all this stuff. I didn't realize he responded to this. Let's take a look at that. And before we do, quick side note. I'm really, really cutting down to the wire here before I got to get to that appointment. I don't think I'll have time to upload this video on my normal schedule of sorts. So apologies already now that this video is going to be coming out late. Probably is by the time you're watching this. It's a bit late, later than usual, so my bad. Ran a bit too close to the wire, down to the wire. Okay, I know that was instantaneous, but I was just gone for a couple hours, just got back. Anyways, let's watch that video of Charlie's response. Thanks for your patience.
Someone's calling you out on the RWBY fandom. Yeah, I saw. They didn't like me saying less than favorable things about the show. Which is to be expected, it's not surprising. No, it's really... One of them really got under my skin, though, saying that I was insulting Monty and shitting on him and, what was it? What was the exact claim? Using his death to shit on him to sound cool, which was one of the most delusional things I've heard in a long time, when in fact I had nothing but praise for Monty and his work. But they couldn't be bothered to see past one clip where I was insulting a really goofy moment of the show. So it's not like I can even really be mad at them. And you won't see them talk about this part of it either. It'll just be that one clip still with none of them even hearing anything of what I was saying about the show aside from just that one clip, but then still saying I was shitting all over Monty for some reason. It's just that Twitter behavior of wanting to feel like the thing you like is attacked and the person is evil behind the attack. Just that pure victim complex. The things I like everyone hates, and they're all evil for it. I followed Monty's work from a very early age. Monty was one of the most impactful animators of, like, the internet age. I've always had an appreciation for his work. Not liking RWBY isn't an insult to Monty or his memory or anything, but can't tell that to them, I guess, because they want to find every possible angle of calling the person who doesn't like the thing they like evil. So they go as far as to just make shit up in their own head about it. But yeah, I'll say it again. I don't like RWBY. I've never seen anything from RWBY that I liked, aside from like the premiere and the very early work when Monty was involved with it before his passing. Those I look back on fondly, but past that, everything I've seen from RWBY I don't like. And there's nothing wrong with me saying that. Not everyone has to like the same things you like. There's also nothing wrong with me making fun of very goofy scenes from it.
Well, it seems like there's only one appropriate thing for me to say. Do you know what it is? He's 100% right. 100% good take. And I hate to talk about myself so much in this segment. It's just that I happen to have pretty good knowledge about the stuff that goes on in the RWBY community and Rooster Teeth after covering it for so long. And I've went through the same exact stuff Charlie's going through right now. Like, despite the fact that I've had only positive things to say about Monty, save for one thing where I've said he probably worked himself a bit too hard, because I've seen interviews from years ago, way back obviously, where Monty looks tired, man, and you can hear him, he's tired. And the man was just working all the time. Now, I think a good work ethic is important. I think working a lot is good, but you probably can still take it a bit too extreme at times. And maybe Monty took it a little too far when it came to his work schedule. So if anything, that's kind of a compliment. But like that's the worst thing I could say about Monty is he was such a hard worker. It potentially impacted his health in a negative way. I mean, the dude, when that's the worst thing you could say about someone, obviously you're talking about a really great person. Again, rest in peace, Monty. The awful thing I'm getting at, though, is despite having such great things to say about Monty, a number of RWBY fanatics, as I call them, really used to call them. I don't really talk about RWBY fanatics or really RWBY that much these days, but here we are for obvious reasons. Anyways, point is, RWBY fanatics made up a similar lie about me, saying that I said horrible things about Monty, and I never did. There's so much like bizarre stuff when it comes to this topic, man. I just remembered another thing. I'm banned on the RWBY subreddit, like not my Reddit account. They didn't like my Reddit account's not even Hero Hate. It's like some random anonymous account. But like literally the topic Hero Hate is banned on the RWBY subreddit. Like you can't even mention me on that subreddit. I'm like blacklisted on the subreddit, bro. You mention anything about Hero Hate there, they're gonna ban you, they're gonna delete that post, they're gonna get all mad. It's like some Voldemort level status or something. Anyways, back to Charlie's point about the children's show thing. Let's run that clip again. It's been a while.
To see like, okay, what is this show about? I don't get it. It actually feels like it is written by a 9-year-old. And the animation is so bad.
I was actually getting that same kind of vibe. Like, but also like the animation specifically as well. If you saw the animation for the RWBY Justice League DC crossover thing, I think it's a movie they're making. I think there was already like one of them. I forget how that all played out exactly. But the point is, if you've seen the trailer for that, it, in my opinion at least, really looks like a show or a movie or whatever for kids. Like, I wonder if the target market is now like children or something, because it kind of seems like it is, which would be really weird, particularly because over somewhat recent volumes, like they tried to make RWBY more of a dark, mature thing. So then it's like, actually, nah, we're target market's now children. You know, I don't know if that's really what's going on, but you know, potentially why they would actually do that in a business decision is maybe they know that so many people have a negative opinion of RWBY and Rooster Teeth now. They're just hoping to go to children that just don't know about that. and get them into RWBY. Gosh, that would be so freaking desperate if that's the move they're going on, man. Could you imagine? It seems like it's actually a possibility, though. So it turns out the OP from earlier actually saw Charlie's response and made a response, saying, so he responded and does make some good points here. Charlie's right that there's nothing wrong with him saying he doesn't like RWBY, and nothing he's seen since the Maya era is totally fine. That's okay. The issue some people were taking with what he said was because he said directly, what's become of the show? Oh my gosh, that's so horrible. Look, I'll say it too. What's become of this show, man? What's become of this show? What a terrible turn of events. Look, I even added onto it. Oh my gosh. When Monty had some direct aspects of it planned from the beginning and trust his closest friends with that plan, that's been put on record multiple times. I mean, I already talked about how this was not entirely accurate in the original framing. This is like more accurate framing now, though, at least. But, you know, if they walked it back a little bit, I suppose that's a positive thing, if anything. They're having a less extreme take. Let's finish the take, though. Comparing to X-Arm 2 is just honestly really unnecessary. And again, the context of the scene from Volume 9, Episode 7 that he was making fun of is totally not there. So I can blame him for feeling confused. Making fun of us, totally not. I don't know what this person's getting at with that line. I'm confused now. But I definitely didn't try to make him sound like he's evil. Up until this, I really like Charlie and his content, but this has definitely hurt. Look, if you like his content, you like his content. What does his opinion on RWBY have to do with you liking his content? I don't really get it. What do you mean, some people? You were the one taking the issue. Some people does include me. Dude was really out of pocket. Stop using out of pocket as a substitute for some sort of heinous act. Nothing of what he said was completely wild or even extremely disagreeable. Using vague language like that, or some people, is just making things more confusing. Did I say he committed a heinous act? I mean, you kind of implied he did. I mean, you kind of said he did, actually, saying he was like dragging a dead man's name and insulting his friends and family. That's a pretty heinous act, so yeah, you kind of did. You said he's directly trashing on Monty and his work. If you see that as just a bit of buffoonery, I don't understand the need to even call us out in the first place. Yeah, that's pretty gross to say something like that and then pretend it's not a heinous act. Just because Charlie's a content creator doesn't mean he's immune to being criticized for judging the whole series based off a 1 minute long clip and using a dead man. Oh my gosh. A dead man's name to bolster his argument? What? That's what you guys are doing. That's what you guys are doing. What are you talking about? He didn't use a dead man's name to bolster his argument. That is the stuff yeah, dude. It's exactly what I'm saying right here. Monty's work is extraordinary, but whatever has become of the show is awful. Is pretty akin to saying this isn't what Monty wanted. Also lumping me in with people who use his name is funny. I'm someone who's been arguing to leave his name out of the RWBY discussion. Then why don't you take your own advice, dude? Plus, again, we can say that we liked RWBY more when Monty worked on it. That's a totally fine and accurate take. And if anything, it's praising Monty, so get over yourself. No, these two don't mean the same thing at all. Another weird comment right here. I mean, to be quite frank, we got weird comments all over the place, man. This could easily be 100-hour segment. 100 hours. Okay, maybe not 100 hours, but you know. This ain't an apology. Not liking RWBY is fine. You're allowed that. But calling RWBY's breakdown a little attitude and only looking at it because of homophobic memes, it's not a good... Are they trying to like imply / allege that Charlie's homophobic now for looking at the homophobic RWBY memes? Here's one against the OP. You took it out of context and threw a tantrum. Grow up. This comes off like the early stages of a YouTuber apology where he never actually apologizes. Why would he apologize? There's nothing to apologize for, dude. Why are these people acting like this is supposed to be an apology video or something? He ain't apologizing. He's just calling you guys out more. Like, he doesn't owe you an apology, and he's not apologizing because there's nothing to apologize for. Weird people, man. Like, what is this? We'll get a couple more of these and wrap it up, man. This segment's already coming out really late. Got a little tongue-tied there. Talk a little too quick sometimes, especially when I know we're near the end of a segment and the segment's out late already. I think this is an interesting case of both it's not what you say, but how you say it, and your opinions does not absolve your criticism. Freedom of speech is not freedom from consequences. What are they saying now? They want Charlie to have consequences for his RWBY opinion or something? What more? It seems like this could have some insight and respectful dialogue between oh gosh, what is this? Parties with different feelings on social media have been tainted. This conversation could have been productive, especially given the topic. Holy smokes, it's not that big of a deal. Dude doesn't like the show anymore. Get over it. Like, it doesn't have to be productive. He did a stream. He barely briefly mentioned RWBY, and his opinion on it is that it used to be like cool. Now it's not. There's nothing more to really be said on this. Okay. You guys can clearly see why I coined the term RWBY Fanatics years ago, right? It's like the most appropriate term. They're fanatical with the obsession to defend RWBY. Like, it defies all logic. It defies reality. These people have reality warping powers. They warp their own perception to the truth to fit their narrative. There's a whole other thread. 821 likes, 48K views. Probably the last one we read before I wrap this up and upload it. We need to talk about this because this is an insane thing to say. Non-RWBY fans, stop trashing on the animator's hard work challenge impossible. Like, come on. Disclaimer, I don't hate Charlie and I really enjoy his content on YouTube, but dang, this take sucked. Oh, yeah, so I think they're really mad that he compared it to X-Arm. I forget if I said this earlier, but I will say at least RWBY animation is better than X-Arm. All RWBY animation from any volume is better than X-Arm. So, yeah, Charlie maybe was just being a bit hyperbolic with that. Although, to also be fair to Charlie, like I said, the new RWBY animation, too, it's freaking weird looking to me. Like, it looks bad. Not as bad as X-Arm, but it definitely looks bad. And some of it is like some kid show level stuff, in my opinion. So I don't even know what's going on with all that, but we already talked about that point. Absolutely insane take here, too. Says basically that if you don't like RWBY, trashing on RWBY is why indie animation will never take off, saying RWBY has grown considerable lengths and it's still tied down to how it looked in 2013. How is this person missing the point? He's saying the current animation looks bad. He doesn't like the current animation. Like, and a lot of people don't like the current animation. I talked about that myself in this video. I have a hunch that Charlie and I are not unique with these opinions. Probably a lot of people don't like the current animation. Literally, whatever the most recent chapter was in the most recent volume, show us that. We're probably going to say the same thing. This animation just doesn't look very good. And to say, like, to try and tie this to indie animation is insane. Rooster Teeth, owned by Warner, it's like a mega corporation. This ain't some indie studio. Back in the day, look, if we're talking 10 years ago, you could have made that argument. We're not 10 years ago though. RWBY's not an indie thing, dude. It's like arguably the most important IP of Rooster Teeth, which again has overlords in Warner Media and all that. So like Warner Discovery and all that now, even at that. So what an insane thing to say. Like, oh, if you criticize these corporate animators, you're basically just insulting indie animators too. Yeah, no. For that matter, one more important thing. He didn't even insult the animators, like the animators alone. He just insulted the animation. It could be similar to the takes we've made about VAs, where for all we know, the animators are just following what their bosses are telling them. So it's not even like the animators are really being criticized here. It's the animation, which is tied more so to the direction of the company itself and why they're taking it this way. So like, anyways, I got nothing else to say on this. We could be here all day talking about this stuff. So I guess I kind of contradicted myself. But the reason I don't have anything else to say is because I don't want to be here all day doing this. I got to get this segment out. So I'm going to go do that. Thank you for tuning in. Let me know what you think about all this in the comments. TLDR, Charlie did nothing wrong. RWBY Fanatics still being fanatical, even in 2023. Once again, thank you for tuning in. I'll see you in the comments and tomorrow for the next segment.